All right, so, sorry, I had to wait. Lesson 1, explore adding and subtracting positive exponents. So when you're multiplying two terms together and the bases are the same, whether it's an A or a 3, you're multiplying. Remember, if there's a dot here or you're shoving things together or you have parentheses, we are multiplying all three of these, okay? This term is multiplied by this term. This term is multiplied by that one, and so forth. Multiplying. Their exponents are allowed to be added when the bases are the same. We'll get to that confusing one in a minute. Okay, so 3 to the 15th power times 3 to the 6th power is the same as 3 to the 15 plus 6, which is the same as 3 to the 21st. We use exponents so we don't have to write out this number. This is 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, 21 times. It's a really big number, and using exponential notation is what that's called. In other words, using exponents, which is what this is for. All right, so a to the third power times a to the second power is the same as a to the 3 plus 2 power. So that gets you the 5. This one here, 2 times 5 is 10. X, remember there's a 1 there if you don't see anything, so 3 plus 1, that's x to the 4. Y to the 5th, y to the 2nd, that's y to the 7th. And z, remember there's a 1 right here, 1 plus 3 is z to the 4th. That's your answer for that one, okay? Excuse me. When you're dividing 15 minus 3, what goes on top goes first, okay? So the 3 to 15 goes first, and then you're subtracting the 3, so you have 12, okay? Let's see, we have a, the base is the same as base on the bottom, 3 on top, 2 on the bottom leaves you with 1. Think about it. 3 on top, 2 on the bottom leaves you 1 on top. And we don't write it over 1, we just write the a, okay? This one, let's see. We handle the 2 over the 10 first, just like we did on the page before, so that's 1 over 5, okay? Then I have 3 x's on top and 1 underneath. So that means I have 2 x's left on top, 3 x's on top, 1 underneath. You're left with 2 on top. Okay? 5y minus 2 leaves you with 3 on top. And the z's, this is a 1 and this is a 1. And when you subtract it, you get z to the 0. That's why we get a 1 when we have z to the 0, so you don't see a z anymore. Okay, I want to be clear about that. Z to the 0 power is not the same as z to 1, so 1 minus 1 is 0. Z, or anything to the 0 power, is 1. We'll do that more in the next lesson. But anyway, that's the final answer for that one. So this one is multiplying positive exponents. We were adding and subtracting positive exponents. Now we're going to multiply positive exponents. The exponents can be multiplied or distributed, whether the bases are the same or not. Okay, so let's look at this. There's a product power rule and a quotient rule. So if we're multiplying two things together, you distribute, and you get that, because remember they have a 1 there. M times 1 is M. When they're outside of the parentheses, you're going to be multiplying them together. That's what just shoving them together means. Okay, so M times N. And then over here, you're going to distribute to here and to here. So let's look at those. So I have A3 times, you can make the little parenthesis times. That's how you're kind of making sure that you're because when you're doing a lot of these, how do you know whether you're adding or subtracting or multiplying your exponents? Well, if you have a number and there's an exponent on one side and a parenthesis in the middle and a exponent on the other side, you can multiply them. You should multiply them, okay? But if you have something like up here just had this next to each other, notice there's nothing here and there's nothing here, so you're adding your exponents, okay? So let's distribute this to that, distribute this to everything in the parentheses, you get this, okay? So don't forget that it applies to the 2. So there's really a 1 as an exponent on the 2, so that's a 3. 3 times 3, 3 times 5, 3 times 1. Okay, so remember 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. X is 9, 15, and 3. And this one over here, so there's an exponent, parenthesis exponent, which means I can multiply. So this is a 6, not a 5. And then you have to, don't forget to this one down here, okay? So this one has parentheses around just the top, not the top and the bottom, right? This one, the parentheses was around the top and the bottom. This is just on the numerator, okay? That means we're just doing this 3 here, and we have to, excuse me, order of operations says I have to do that first. So 2 to the 3rd power is 8. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 1 that you don't see is 3. So that fixes that. Now I'm over here, and I need to reduce 8 over 10. 8 over 10 is reducible by 2. So that gives you 4 over 5. And this is going to be x to the 8. This is going to be y to the 13th and z to the 2. So let's put all this together. We have 4 over 5. Here's my 4 over 5. And then here's all the other stuff. And they were all positive, so they're all here on top. Okay? We had, we'll have one in the practice that what happens is when you subtract something, like let's say we have x to the 5th and then x to the 7th. This we should handle in lesson 2, but we noticed a couple of practice problems came out with a problem like that. So when you're crunching all the numbers through and you ended up with a 5 on top and a 7 underneath, that is x to the 5th minus 7. You get an x to the negative 2. Well, none of these were negative or said anything about negative. But when it said came out positive, we put it on top, in the numerator. All this means is that there are going to be 2 left over on the bottom and none left on the top. So x to the raised to the negative 2 power is the same as 1 over x to the 2. All right? So when you're crunching through things, and you have, right here you have, let's say you have, let's see this is positive here, so you end up with an 8, and I said that's positive, it goes on top, okay, in the numerator. You end up with a negative, you need to put it on the bottom, okay. All right, we'll do that in practice.